Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Geek Centurions. It's me, Will Eli.
It's me, Joe.
We're here to talk about something that I've been meaning to talk about with some people. And I think Joe, you're one of the best people to talk to about this. Um, so not that long ago, we talked about No Way Home, right? Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yeah, that was
That was a fun ride.
In fact, they recently released a extended edition with like some deleted scenes in theaters.
Yeah, some extended moments, and I've been noticing stuff on social media. A major criticism that I feel that the movie tends to have, and that got me to thinking: is that necessarily a bad thing? Is that necessarily something that we should criticize? Is it because a lot of people feel like this is something that is just for the fans. It's just for doesn't really mean anything, and obviously that comment is fan service, right? And so that got me to thinking: is fan service necessarily a bad thing?
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, there's many ways to take that fan service. Obviously, if you're an anime fan, you immediately think of a certain stuff that happens in anime. That
Certain little TNA as they call it, right?
yes, a little TNA. Heck, even some comic book movie fans are now doing that. Really, it's like Snow Way Home is like a big fan servicey movie. Like, oh, you love those two, Amazing and Raimi Spider-Man. This is all for you. And while I understand where they're coming from, I feel like that's not completely an invalid criticism. But essentially, this is what the conversation is going to go. Is fan service necessarily a bad thing? And first off, we're going to talk about the difference of fan service.
Like different types of fan service.
Yes.
Because, yeah, like fan service can mean different things for different types of genres and like stories, right?
Yeah.
Like in my head, like yeah, because like fan service is just so very it can be like it's such a broad term. Like you said, for some anime fans, like when they think of fan service, it's like oh, it's it's the beach episode, or
Yeah.
like or the hot springs episode or something like that, where like you get to see
Something that's most likely going to promote I was say the model kits. No, that's for me for
oh yeah.
no, for the figures, I guess.
I mean, yeah, or like just like, hey, it's these characters or whatever, in outfits that they're pleasing to the eye for some people. I guess is what you would probably say to that.
Yeah.
But then obviously, that doesn't pertain to like how people talk about No Way Home, where like the fan service of that is just, hey, getting to see all three of the live action Spider-Man on screen together and having them interact with each other and doing all that stuff. Like people see that as fan service because for a long time, yeah, people have wanted like some like version of like of a Spider-Verse, but in live action with Tom and Andrew and Toby.
Yeah.
And we get that. We even got that from the No Way Home, and I do understand what you mean from the criticism. Like, oh, the only reason why so many people like this movie is just for that. And
They caught villains from the past.
yeah, like it's all like based on like past nostalgia, and that's why why people like it. Like they say that like that that's sort of like doesn't mean that the movie is good, right? Because it's entirely based on that stuff, and I definitely kind of get get the point of that criticism, but I feel like it misses out on like that like the way all these characters are used, right?
Yeah.
Like I feel like if it was like pure like regular bait fan service of the type of like oh just getting to see all these characters again, like I would compare it to say like a Ready Player One.
Okay, yeah, I think I know where you're going with this.
Yeah, because in Ready Player One, obviously it's a huge like pop culture
Yeah.
like, there's a bunch of like pop culture references here and there and everywhere, right? and you can say that's fan service. But the difference between, I think, the fan service in like Ready Player One and in No Way Home is that a good chunk of the stuff that is shown in Ready Player One really is just there to be there, right? It has no like story significance or anything of the sort.
No.
Like seeing Chun-Li and friggin' Tracer from Overwatch, a bunch of the Master Chiefs running around. That's cool to look at.
It's Harley and Joker right over there. It's their like
and Chucky,
Arkham, and there's Arkham outfits, and there's like the King Kong.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, I feel like a lot of Ready Player One is just like that's the whole point, is like nostalgia, right?
Yeah.
And like really, like for me, I was talking this to a coworker a long time ago. For me, the big story of it was that the creator, on how like he missed out on life, hence why he made this sort of like VR world, just to like kind of escape it. But he never forgets the thing that that he lost out on, which is like such a touching and like really the real story, I feel.
Yeah. But yeah, like I think as to what I was saying, I think that's the difference, because in No Way Home, like, yeah, we get all these villains back and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But they're given like characters to go through. Like, it's not just like hey, you need to watch like the other Spider-Man movies to get who these guys are. No. They give them like enough decent run back to be like, okay, this is this guy's deal, this is that guy's deal.
Yeah.
And we get to see like, like general like character moments with them. And obviously I think one of the big ones is that Green Goblin has such a profound effect on the MCU Spidey,
on Tom's
Tom Holland's Spider-Man. Getting to see that interaction, obviously.
Because Green Goblin is such like the villain for Spider-Man. He has caused so much pain in Spider-Man's life, and like in the comics, in the movies now too. Especially in this iteration, he's the cause of death for Aunt May.
Mm-hmm.
He's the reason why she's dead, and if that at that point it stops becoming kind of like a fan service. For me, the idea of fan service is no longer valid for that, because like, no, this character has an effect on the character. Stuff is going on and it affects the the story.
Yeah,
it's not there just to be there.
Yeah,
which I feel like that's where fan service is bad, when it's just there to like, oh look, it's blank from blank, and it doesn't add anything to the story.
No, I agree with that. Honestly, when it comes to like that type of fan service of like, hey, it's this guy, just hanging out, and it's like, does he do anything interesting, or is pushing the narrative? No, he's just there. He's really good.
It's like if the pizza guy from Spider-Man 2 was just there, yelling to get their pizza order out. It's like, all right, that's a
bizarre cameo.
Mm-hmm.
That adds really nothing to this. But I mean, that type of fan service. I mean, that's why I think sometimes with Marvel movies they add like, they put that stuff toward in the post credits, right?
Yeah.
It's like they'll add like maybe character reveals or like various other things, like like just to, like, that way they're out of the way for the main story, because obviously they know that that's going to interrupt the flow of some things, and it's just going to be like, why is that even there?
Yeah.
Besides just regular fan service,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like that's sort of a good way of like handling that sort of stuff, is just like not put it in the main story of that sort of thing. Yeah, because I think like fan service can be done well. Like I think No Way Home is a great example of that, because all of that fan service means something in the end. It's not just a bunch of random cameos of characters and being like, all right, now we're done with that.
Yeah, no, they add to the story. They sort of like, because essentially it all boils up to like what makes Tom Holland Spider-Man. He learns from like other Spider-Man that, one, he's not alone, that he's gonna be, that they all share a common thing, and that is loss, right? They all, the moment they're like, great power, great responsibility, and some people would probably be like, oh, sure, that line, but like, no, it means something. It was Aunt May's last words, and it was also Ben's last words to each Spider-Man.
Yeah, and obviously, like the big moment, right? Where like, wait, how do you know that? It's like because my Uncle Ben said it the night he died.
Yeah,
and it's like maybe
that's where like they all like they understand each other, right?
yeah,
That's what builds off that like commodity and like that sort of brotherhood that they have with each other. Like we've all lost someone,
yeah,
and because throughout the Peter, like Peter's like, you guys don't know how it feels. I don't care anymore. I'm going, and both Andrews and Toby's are like, hey, we've been there. We know how you feel.
yeah,
Heck, that's like the whole point of that. Like, we know, kid, we know. That's why we're here. Kind of.
mm-hmm.
And like to move away from like this the whole Spider-Man one. I sometimes some fan service is like, oh, it's there just to be like oogled at or something.
Yeah.
And in terms of the anime fans, but like, because I remember in one of our earlier episodes, it was me, Daniel, and Kelvin talking about. He felt that Claymore, which is this anime where superpowered women with claymores fighting demons, and for him, he felt there was too fan service, and I was like, really? Because there wasn't any fan service in there, but like
the concept, right,
of fan service within like in the anime community
is obviously it's the TNA, yeah,
yeah, and but to which I contradict him. It's like, well, no, it's not flashy. Right?
Yeah, like it doesn't.
It's just normal. There's a difference between like treating something normal fan service to like, oh, we're putting it like on a pedestal or something.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna ask, like, are these women scantily dressed or are they in?
No, they're in armor.
Okay, then yeah.
Yeah, but there are moments where like they're, in the nude.
Oh, okay. I mean, yeah, because I guess it depends on the scenario. Because obviously,
Yeah.
I guess like characters changing clothes into the shower or whatever, probably wouldn't be seen as fan service in an anime. I don't know.
No, because it's just them taking a shower.
Yeah. I guess it's just the way it would be framed.
Yeah.
If it focuses on certain angles, that
Like, if you watch anime, you know what we're talking about.
yeah. But yeah, it's I know I definitely understand that because in anime, like, yeah, that's sort of like how most people kind of use fan service. Even though I feel like there are like other methods of fan service that get like similar fan service to what fan service like No Way Home has that you probably have as an anime. Probably off the top of my head, I can think of like in like Dragon Ball Super, they started doing like they would have like occasional references to like the old Dragon Ball anime.
Yeah.
Like like them having to relearn the whole what is it? The Master Roshi like evil containment field thing.
Oh yeah.
Like you could consider that kind of fan service because it's like, oh hey, it's that thing from like the first Dragon Ball anime that like fucking barely anyone remembers because no one really watched Dragon Ball. They just watched Z. So it's like
American audience, yes.
Yeah, American audience, yeah. But like, it's a nice little like, oh hey, yeah, that technique, yeah, let's use that. Or probably more recently, I think with Dragon Ball like Superhero.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of like somewhat of a fan servicey kind of film.
It is entirely a fan servicey film. There's a lot of like nods and like image, like basically not rip off the scene, but like
homages
to like Toriyama's original work.
Yeah, like I mean, heck, like that whole film is mainly more about Piccolo and Gohan sort of getting the spotlight.
Yeah,
and that could be considered fan service because for a lot of fans, yeah, people like Piccolo, people like Gohan, but they feel
there were so many jokes in that movie that like if you were a longtime fan, they hit you in a way.
Yeah,
like there's a scene where it's just a normal scene. It is a blink and you'll miss it if you'd never like read or watched Dragon Ball, right? The original Dragon Ball, back when Goku was a kid. That Piccolo has a chair. I told you this when we were watching it.
Yeah,
that's King Piccolo's chair.
Yeah,
that's the chair. And then like it's all these moments where like because everyone makes fun of like Piccolo being like Gohan's dad.
Yeah,
and like there's a lot of that in there, but also like when Gohan turns into another new form, it is a straight image, like scene for scene, basically the moment when he turns Super Saiyan 2.
Yeah, like it feels like a recreation of when he turned Super Saiyan 2.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's and I feel like that sort of thing. Heck, even probably the Broly movie, you could consider it fan service as well, because one, it brings Broly, who was always kind of like a movie character, then not really canon, into the actual Dragon Ball canon, and actually makes him a bit of a more interesting character.
Yeah, because the movie was just like, okay, we just get this a one and done thing. He's angry.
He's mad that Goku cried as a baby. He has a grudge.
The jokes from Team 4-Star are enough for you to get it.
Yeah, he's so cool, but his backstory's so lame.
And this one's just like, oh, he's been raised by an abusive father.
Yeah, and he's been living on this planet for a while, and he gets picked up by the Frieza Force and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, I think that movie has a lot of fan service as well. Obviously, as well as freaking Gogeta getting canonized as well.
Yeah, you don't get one, you get two.
You get two fusions in the world of Dragon Ball, Vegeta and Gogeta, because that was always kind of the fun thing. I know technically Gogeta was semi who's always kind of weird because they brought him in GT.
And GT's kind of in a weird place of whether or not it is canon or not.
It probably isn't.
Yeah.
Considering it's set right after Z. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't include any of the stuff that happened. Because that was made first.
Yeah.
Before Super, because Super picks up is pretty much right at the a couple years after the Buu saga, but way before the actual final chapters of the Dragon Ball Z manga, where the World Tournament again. With Oob and stuff, and that's where GT picks up afterwards.
Which I feel like some people could still consider GT canon to a sense.
I mean, it's possible, because I'm not sure if Toriyama really cares enough to go back and try to have all the super stuff get wrapped up to the point where it makes sense for what happens in the end of the Dragon Ball manga, and then picks up.
Well, to be fair, he had not much of control during GT, so
I don't think he had
back to the fan servicey thing.
But yeah, no, I mean, it is super fan service that you get to see Gogeta fight Broly.
Yeah, because that's so cool. That's something as a fan you would love to see, especially animated the way it was.
Yeah, I mean Dragon Ball. I mean, heck, shonen anime is always filled with who would win fights, right?
Yeah.
So to get get one of hey, here's Broly versus Gogeta, all right, actually happening, let's see how that works out.
Yeah, and okay, to throw in another anime one, this one specifically ties to the first season, and so big Gundam fan, obviously, big Gundam fan.
Yeah,
I love Gundam Build Fighter Season 1. That was, to me, the big love letter to the fans. Because, not only do you have, main characters being, Gundam fan, literally the main character himself literally lives, his house is also, a model kit shop, and they sell primarily Gundams.
Yeah.
And literally in the first scene you have him, when some kid asks, hey, what's that? He's like, oh, that's the Wing Gundam from Gundam Wing, developed by da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-
I must unleash my knowledge.
Yeah, he's that. That is him. And then like to your surprise, if you pay attention, and while it was coming out, people had like a Where's Waldo game going on, like the fans, because like if you notice, like in the background, like just like a background character, no sole like importance at all. Hey, look, it's Benager or Amro or Char. They're in the background, not doing shit.
Like, I guess like it's just like random like character cameos in the background. Like that doesn't really mean anything.
No,
but like it's like kind of like a neat like, oh yeah, look, that's neat.
Yeah, and like I'm not gonna say who, but but one character who is an established character from a Gundam series is like a supporting character in this show, and you're like, wait, you're here? And he's like, yeah, I'm just here to give some advice, help the main character along. And it's like, oh, And it's like this, like I was saying, like for, and I talked to this with people, like for a lot of us, we felt like the first season of Gundam Build Fighters was a love letter to the fans, because like there, even to a point, there's an episode where it's like, okay, here's all the cameos that we didn't get, we literally couldn't get to. It's like, oh look, it's like there's literally a moment where like you see like there's these characters who have like such a sad, tragic story in their original continuity,
but they're just hanging out,
being happy, and I'm like, oh, you bastards, you're pulling my heartstrings.
Like, what could have been?
What could have been? So, like that for me is like, I always consider that like being like that show to be like the pinnacle of good fan service.
No, I get it. I think I understand that, because obviously, like, yeah, the background cameos don't detract from anything.
No,
they're just kind of neat little things for,
yeah.
like,
And there was
fans.
one in every episode, so which why I say like, when it was coming out, a lot of the fans were like having a "Where's Waldo" kind of thing. Like we would like after we watched the whole episode, we just go back and be like, okay, who's here?
Yeah,
Who's here?
Yeah.
And then someone in the comments like, at this time period, that's where you'll find so and so, and it's like, oh shit, he's right. Oh
yeah. And I think what you mentioned, like one of the cameo characters actually has a significant role.
Yeah.
Which, again, yeah, like much like how to relating to No Way Home's fan service, like, good fan service, if you want it to be like actually meaningful, is that like sometimes these fan service moments add weight, add, like plot importance and like progression to various things. They're not just there to be there. And yeah, if you wanted it to be there, have it be like a little background thing or like a post credits thing, And I definitely understand how this works. Although if I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure that show is basically just Beyblade but with Gunpla.
Yeah, and like it does a good job of like giving you sort of emotional weight. It's I give it to like something like Yu-Gi-Oh, where like it's just a children's card game.
Fair enough, yeah.
Where like that's the joke everyone makes, but like there's somehow at the same time very emotional moments.
Listen, man, if you don't tear up when Yugi has to fight Joey, who's under the mind control of Merrick, and he decides to sacrifice himself so that Joey can live, right? Like, you're not a real man.
that was such a good episode, to be fair.
Yeah, and then fucking Joey just jumps in, and then fucking Serenity, like, like her eyes are finally healed, and she just fucking rescues Joey and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
It's like, oh yeah. There's emotional weight here.
Yeah, I mean, granted, there's a lot of dumb stuff that also happens in that arc. I mean,
yeah, but like it proves our scene, right? It proves our point.
Yeah, absolutely, it does. Yeah, and yeah, I think at the end, that's pretty good fan service. But I would hazard to guess. I mean, like, obviously, I think we kind of mentioned like what we feel is like kind of like bad fan service where it just adds nothing. I guess in like. I'm trying to think of a show or something I remember watching recently where I would consider that as like just not like unnecessary fan service. You know what I mean?
That's kind of like hard to think of, right?
Yeah, because I guess like at the end of the day, like fan service, it's in the name. Like it's to service the fans, and for some fans, they'll like whatever the creators give them, right? But I think rarely has there ever been like a moment of like fan service where like the fans are like, okay, this is a little much, right? I guess to keep it back on anime, I guess there's probably some animes that do the whole TNA fan service where there's probably some people that are just like, why do we need this? Why is this here?
Yeah, there's a lot of that. Even like some of the fan service and like where it's not stuff like that, it just feels like really weird and dumb. Like. There's a reason why I don't like Fake Grand Order so much.
I mean, the game is I guess you could say it has a lot of fan service moments of like various characters that normally wouldn't meet.
Yeah.
Interacting. I guess for some people, the interactions of say,
this character,
what's her Saber, right? Yeah. The regular one, not like
I know. Yeah.
There's so many.
Yeah, so many.
There's so many.
OG got it.
Yeah, and Jeanne d'Arc, like because I think they have like a like a weird kind of relationship.
Yeah, they kind of don't like each other.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, yeah, no, I guess that makes sense.
One's British, the other's French. You know, they've had a long history of. I mean, Jeanne d'Arc, she literally fought against the British in like,
yeah,
what is it, 300 Years War?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, there's a bit of history there.
There's a bit of history, but it's like, but why would you, like, you have no reason for what?
Yeah, no, I understand that. I mean, obviously that game also does some other types of fan service, and I understand that you don't particularly enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, I think it's just like but to be, when I can't, it's hard for me to think of like bad fan service because I tend to ignore anything that I know it's gonna be bad fan service.
fair enough.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. I feel like if I hear more of the fan servicey thing, then I'm probably not gonna like it as much. You know what I'm saying?
Like if it leans really hard and like
Yes.
like that feels like that's the only thing it has of substance.
Yeah, whether it be a movie or an anime, like you know which is a good one?
Yeah,
The Matrix Reloaded. I mean, no,
Resurrections.
Resurrections. There we go.
Yeah, no, I think I understand that one because one, it definitely is super meta.
Yeah.
Obviously, like there's that whole goddamn scene where it's like a boardroom, like because obviously it's like Keanu is back in the Matrix, you know.
Yeah. He's making a video game.
He's making the video game, The Matrix, right?
Yeah.
And like you know, they're making a new one, and you know, there's a boardroom scene where, like, we need our bullet time, and it's just like what the, you know.
Like who talks like this?
Yeah, and we obviously reviewed that like when it came out. You can go find it on the channel or you know, or the podcast episode. To hear our full thoughts on that, but
and I've heard like comments saying like, well, that's how you know it's a simulation because no one will talk like that. But I'm like, someone still wrote that though.
One, someone still wrote that, and two, I feel like for the most part, even when you look back at the old Matrix movies, people like, I mean, the only people that talked essentially like that were like just the AIs and not like the people who were like put in there.
Yeah. Because they were written to act like it would be a simulation.
Yeah, like I feel like the machines would probably would do better to try to make accurate humans, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And then the kid was like, oh, okay, bringing out too off track with the Matrix. But kind of to go back on it, there were always those scenes of like, remember the old Matrix?
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah, I do remember that. Stop showing me over and over again.
Heck, I mean, the literally opening scene of that movie is just them like re-looking at like one of the old scenes of the Matrix. I think it was like Matrix 2, I think.
Yeah, it was the beginning of that film. It's like, oh, we're doing it from this point of view
of like just the characters looking over and reacting to it.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, that one was fine, but it was like that. But it kind of was really weird and awkward. Was it still?
Yeah, it was like weird. It was weirdly paced, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and like it tried to have this this message, but like a lot of the meta commentary and other things just didn't land well for me. Mm-hmm. And part of it was just that fan servicey stuff.
Yeah,
because like you can't deny like half of it was like, let's do these fan servicey moments, and it's just like, okay, but these ring kind of hollow.
Yeah.
And remember everyone's talking like, well, of course it was bad because they didn't intended to make it good. I'm like, I don't believe that.
No one goes and makes, like, I mean, I guess you could argue that, like, the idea of, like, someone going out and making a bad movie on purpose probably rings true of, like, say, Sharknado stuff.
Yeah.
You know, like, those type of movies. Mm-hmm. They're like, oh, yeah, these are clearly, like, just stupid, dumb, and, like, are, like, are just there to be bad, right? But, like, I feel like Matrix Resurrections is very much in the line of, like, they wanted to make a good movie, and it just turned out very weird. Like, you can never recreate The Room, right? Like, you can never recreate it by going out and trying to make it bad, like a bad movie like The Room. The Room is bad because someone put in all this effort believing that they were making a good movie only for it to be very bad.
Yeah, like there's a reason why you know, the Disaster Artist movie with James Franco was made the way it was, right?
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't made to like they didn't recreate The Room.
They
They
were
made a movie based on making The Room.
Yeah, it's a movie about the making of The Room, and seeing all the crazy shit that went down in that movie, and trying to go into the mind of Tommy Wiseau. You know?
Where he's like, "This is a good idea," and everyone's like, "This is not a good idea."
Like, where's the water on set? This old lady's just passed out because she doesn't have water. Jesus.
God damn, I totally forgot about that scene.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
You did drugs, Denny?
You're not my fucking mother.
It's a good. Oh god, that was such a good movie. But like, yeah, that was like for me, like that you can consider fan service too.
I mean, maybe for like people who are like really into The Room, right? Of like, hey, yeah, like, you know, The Room is like one of these like seminal, like, so bad it's good movies, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, who the hell is Tommy Wiseau and why the hell did he do all this shit?
Yeah.
Right? But I guess that I feel like when it comes to like traditional fan service of like what most people think about, it's like, you know, it's of an established property that
is getting some sort of continuation.
Yeah, and has like, you know, does a bunch of nods to stuff that's happened before or whatever, you know? I mean, like, obviously I think to bring it back to a little bit of Marvel, Endgame is pretty fan servicey when you think about it.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. But I feel for me and a lot of people, it's kind of warranted.
Yeah, it's one. I think it's warranted, and two, it's more like finally paying off a lot of stuff that was kind of set up before. I think the biggest one is being Cap wielding Mjolnir, because that was set up since Avengers 2, and you're always sort of like, it moved a little. Is it possible? And then obviously, you know, you get the big scene at the end, right? Yeah. Against the fight with Thanos. It's like, oh yeah, it's finally here, you know?
Yeah, but it still also has like good story moments.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, I know for you, it was like that when he just stood up against Thanos' entire army with Cap.
Yeah, like, you know, like I was hoping that they would maybe somewhat recreate the lines from the Infinity Gauntlet comic, where like it's Captain America just literally like staring at Thanos, being like, you know, like, as long as there's one man that, you know, one person that can stand up to you, you'll never win, you know, like kind of line.
Yeah.
But they didn't do that, but they did that visually, I felt, obviously, because it's like literally Cap against the entire army. All he does is just like tighten the shield straps and just go, oh, let's go.
Because like because you can see the cut in his arm.
Yeah.
Because like it hurts, but he's gotta.
Yeah, it's like, let's go.
He just gets the hammer and he's like, oh, let's go.
Yeah.
It's not even like a manly, let's go. It's like, let's go. I can do this all day, baby.
Yep. But yeah, you know, like, I definitely do think, like, is there like, you ever think, like, I think it's probably a good question, but also probably has a solid answer of like, do you think when is fan service too much, you know? Like, I mean, Matrix I think is more of like because I feel like the Matrix fan service in Resurrections is more of like it's a commentary on itself, I think. I don't know, it's weird.
It tries to be commentary, but it doesn't like answer anything.
Yeah, like I guess in my brain I can't really think of like something I've watched where like there's so much fan service where it's just like, please stop, no more, right?
Yeah. I don't really know myself on the top of my head, but I feel like I think it kind of depends, right?
Right.
If you yourself are so ingrained already that seeing all these fan service moments is becoming too much for you. Because if you're someone who hasn't been keeping up and this is your introduction, you wouldn't know it's fan service unless it's so blatantly fan service, right? I think that's when it becomes bad, when it's so blatantly and kind of like not even done in a tasteful and respectful way, right? Like, I was saying, like, you know, about that Gundam Build Fighter show.
Yeah.
They had an episode where it was just nothing but like there's still like character moments and character
Yeah.
story. Like it was like we're all having fun before the last big fight for the tournament, and like, but like before so, he was like, oh look, it's so and so, and so and so, and I'll give you one for you because I know you've seen some. It's Hathaway and what the fuck was her name again? Quest on a date, because that would never happen. Those two did not end up happy.
Yeah, no, I remember watching Sharks Counterattack. Those two don't really have that great of a relationship.
No, it's very toxic, and it's like, oh look, looks like they actually have a healthy relationship.
Probably not. Yeah, no.
No. This is the world where she actually is okay and not crazy.
Perhaps, maybe, I don't know.
Listen, if Shark can be like having a happy day with Lala, we're fine.
Yeah, but that that makes sense to their characters, right?
But to the point like that, there was a lot of that, but it wasn't done distastefully. It was done with at least a level of respect.
Right.
Where I feel like if you were just like, look, it's this and this is that, and it's that's when I feel like it's gone too far.
Mm-hmm.
That for me is when it's too far. That I can't think of one off the top of my head where it's just that, because like I think someone would be like, okay, that's too much fan service. We got to pull it back.
Yeah, and I guess at the same time, there's probably some fans out there that are really into like fan service of like just getting all they want, you know, like because I feel like there is a contention of fans out there for any type of media that are just a little bit what's the word I'm looking for?
Starved?
No, not necessarily starved. I mean, I guess some would be starved. What's the word I'm thinking about? It's like they feel like they deserve it, you know?
Okay. Like they deserve this sort of a...
Yeah, like I've been a fan for this long. I deserve to see, you know, this stuff happen or whatever, you know? Like, I guess like the closest thing I can think of is like, you know, like those type of fans that like to ship characters together, getting upset that the characters they liked, that they want them to get together never get together at the end, right?
I guess.
Like I can kind of see that being like...
Yeah, but those are like so far in between, right?
Yeah.
Like usually you kind of already know who gets with who, and in that term, and like in the
entitled. That's the word I was looking for.
Okay, yeah, some entitled fans, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for. Like, I think in like every fandom, there's always like a contingent of fans that feel that they're entitled to get like certain big fan servicey moments because, hey, I've been a fan of this property for X amount of years. I've been, you know, supporting everything you know this whole property has done. I want satisfaction.
And if you are one of those, screw you.
I mean, yeah, because I think at the end of the day, when it comes to fan service, it's usually up to the creators to be like, okay, let's, you know, give them a bone, right?
Yeah.
Like, the creators of these properties decide are more or less the ones that decide how things should go or how things should end up. I mean, and while, yeah, fan input can be nice at times, you know, and just sometimes you just gotta let the creators do what they want to do, and you know, and some fans are very entitled. I feel of just like, hey, I want it to be just this, just that. You know, that's why I was kind of alluding to with the whole like, you know, fans that like to ship characters together.
Okay, yeah.
You know, sometimes they feel like they're entitled to see that, you know, ship or whatever like come together, and then you know they get a little pissy when it doesn't.
Yeah. I think I have a good. I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of people tend to look at into the Spider-Verse,
No Way Home.
No Way Home, in such like a level of criticism, because it's like it's what the fans wanted. We're only doing this because of the fans, but like as we talked about earlier, the way they handled those like, quote unquote fan servicey moments, they were done with, you know, care and taste. Like that's something that, you know, they actually, you know, pay attention. Like, yeah, okay, fans want to see this. Let's
make this work.
Yeah, how can we make that work?
How can we make this work and still have a satisfying story and conclusion of this Spider-Man trilogy we've been making, right? You know, and you know they pulled it off, I think, pretty well.
Yeah, and like there's even like, to be fair, even some fan servicey moments in like Doctor Strange, right? The Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah.
But like, even then, it was just like, okay, it's there, nothing really to worry about.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think there's tons of people that. I mean, obviously, there's like the big reveals of Mr. Fantastic and Professor X, and the actors who play them are definitely the big, like, fan service moment. Because you're expecting maybe it's going to be like a different person in the role.
Yeah.
But it turns out, oh, it's that guy? The guy we've been saying that would look great as this character?
Yeah, John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic.
Literally the guy that we photoshopped to make him look like Mr. Fantastic.
And there's people who are upset that he got killed. I'm like, what do you think was going to happen?
First of all, he's in an alternate reality anyway, and we're getting a Fantastic Four movie, like, in a couple, like, what, 2-3 years maybe?
And it might not be John Krasinski.
It's really, like, I mean, yeah, like, it's there to, like, be like, hey, that looks cool, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like that happens sometimes in superheroes, too. Like, freaking Deadpool 2, the Invisible Guy, bring Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
Like, there's tons of times where, like, that happens, where, like, there's actors who, like, will show up to do, like, a bit role for a superhero movie because, realistically, they don't really want to do, like, a superhero movie, like, for real, so they'll just do, like, a bit role and, like...
Yeah, but John Krasinski kind of does want to, but, like, he's totally... But I'm pretty sure that was a good one. A good way to...
Good way to, like, satisfy that.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, okay, I seen the memes about me being Mr. Fantastic. I'll do it.
I really wanted to be Captain America, but, like, I can do Mr. Fantastic.
I don't know. I still am of the belief.
Yeah.
Because of the fact the Black Bolt in Multiverse of Madness is the same black guy who plays Black Bolt in the Inhumans show.
Yeah.
That, like, I am willing to believe that John Krasinski will still be Mr. Fantastic for the Fantastic Four movie. I know
if he's not?
And if he's not, I am going to be fine with that because at the end of the day, I'm just going to roll it up as multiverse shenanigans, you know? Just as how, like, there's different looking Peter Parkers, there's probably different looking Reed Richards.
Yeah. Yeah, because I remember people being like, upset, like, oh, I can't believe that they did this. It's like, I'm like, that was just a one-off thing. You knew this was going to happen. I knew this was going to happen. You knew what was going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like, I don't expect much, like, these characters to stick around, even for, like, I wasn't expecting them to get murdered off.
That quickly?
I was more expecting them to be just, like, there for, like, that movie and probably not show up again. But yeah, you know, it's going to be very interesting how that ends up. But yeah, no, I think that's another, like, sort of use of fan service, right?
Yeah.
It's not that intrusive.
It's not terrible.
No. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's been others that have done it better. Now, question is, to end it off, is fan service bad? No, depending on how it's done.
Yeah, I think that's sort of the big overarching theme of this episode of, like, when we talk about fan service, is that much like anything, you know, fan service in moderation is good. If you do too much, if you have, like, a bunch of fan service, but it doesn't mean a lot of things in terms of your story, then it's probably not worth it.
But if it's done in a way where, like, it's to complement the story and it helps, you know, it helps make the story better, then yeah, it's like, that's great. It actually makes it a lot better. So, like, the idea of fan service is...
Because I feel like that's a situation where everyone wins.
Yeah, it's a situation
the creators win because they are able to produce a good story, and the fans win because they get solid fan service and a great story.
Yeah, exactly. Hence why I say that that's first season of Gundam Build Fighters is, like, to me, the peak of, like, fan service done well. I mean, everything about that was, like, one, it was a fun story, great action, the fan service was nice, and it was tasteful, it was fun for the fans, and, like, a lot of it was just, like, if you're in the know, then you know this.
Yeah.
So it's, like, it was, like, a perfect combination, hence why I tend to call it, like, a love letter to the fans.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of Gundam fans as well believe that too. Yeah. And, like, just because it has fan service doesn't mean it's an automatic negative.
No, not like, I mean, I guess you could maybe argue if it's the TNA kind of a fan service, then maybe.
maybe.
Then maybe it's a little like bad.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, obviously it depends on the property of that show. I mean, if it's just a raunchy harem anime, then I feel like most audiences are fully expecting stuff like that to happen.
I have not seen one of those in years now. I think we're done with those.
Yeah, I feel like. Well, would you consider Rent a Girlfriend?
Nah.
No. Okay. All right. We'll put that in the wastebasket for now.
Where it belongs.
All right. I think that's a good way to end this.
That's a good way to end it. Yeah. Thanks you guys for checking us out. Be sure to follow us on all social medias at Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at the Geek Centurions. And on Instagram, where we're most active, you'll find us a link to all the podcasts that we're officially part of, like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, all the like. And you'll find a link to our YouTube for all you audiences out there. Want to put a face to the voice? That's where you'll find us. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and you can support us on Patreon. We have it up there just for fun. Really, you can be there to support us anyway. And yeah, that's the end of the episode. Fan service ain't that bad, depending on how it's done.
Yeah, fan service is fun. You want it to be fun.
Yeah.
Just don't do it too much. You know?
Not too much.
You can't have too much ice cream or else your stomach's gonna get bad. That's what fan service is. You know? Yeah. All right.
It's an ice cream cake. Too much ice cream cake is bad for you.
Yeah, obviously.
You get fat and that's too much. Anyways, guys, you have a good one. It's been me, your boy Eli.
It's been me, Joe.
And with the Geek Centurions. Peace.